We are Motown, and this is what we do.
The truth is, good things come to those who work.
The things that make us Americans are the things we make.
And if peace is what we pray for, and peace is what we give, then peace will be the way we are, and peace the way we live.
God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
It's halftime, America, and our second half's about to begin.
Is there anything more American than America?
We are a nation that is whole again.
Here are a couple things America got right. Cars and freedom.
Well, that was pretty awesome. And clearly it is Wednesday in Miami, the third day. I'm certainly feeling it. I had to bring my water up with me. My name's actually Jeffrey Duque. I'm here to introduce Juan Torres. I work with Imprimedia. And in Imprimedia, we pride ourselves as being the voice of Latinos. From our legacy print brands, our magazine division that includes Vista and ESPN Deportes, and our leading digital publisher group, Empower, currently number 6 on ComScore, we reach over 15 million Hispanics every month. This is why it is a pleasure for me to introduce someone who is not only the voice, but the face of our market from both a personal and professional perspective. Born in Popayan, Colombia, yay, Colombia. Raised in both Colombia and US, Juan holds a master's degree in communications from Northwestern University and a BA in international relations and political science from University of Missouri. Most of you know Juan from his extensive and successful career of 16 years at Anheuser-Busch, where he wore many hats, most notably as a director of Latino marketing. He was responsible for developing long-term advertising strategies and brand marketing for Budweiser, Bud Light, and many, many more brands. Today, Juan is the head of multicultural advertising and marketing for Chrysler Group, LLC. For those of you who have had the pleasure of working with Juan and Chrysler, I think you will agree that they are disrupting the way U.S. vehicles are marketed today and bringing both a fresh and multinational perspective to an often traditional industry. 24% of new vehicle sales in the U.S. are attributed to multicultural customers, and Juan is responsible for delivering an effective total market strategy focused on insight and superior multicultural activation. Juan, who has a great perspective of the overall market as an inside-outsider, new to the automotive industry, but with a seasoned marketing background, is going to give us an exclusive peek under the hood of how he is helping shape Chrysler's marketing strategies today and beyond. Please join me in welcoming Juan Torres.
Good morning. Good morning. Buenos días. Y muchas gracias, Jeffrey, fellow Colombian. I appreciate it. Sound like there might be a few of you in the crowd today. So thank you for having me here in Miami. It's great to be here this morning. This city really is the perfect location for this conference for obvious reasons, of course, but also for me personally. You see, ever since I was a young boy, growing up in Popayan, Colombia, this beautiful little colonial city nestled in the Andes Mountains, I spent my summers in the United States, in the Midwest, in St. Louis, Missouri. My father, who's Colombian, is a cultural anthropologist, and my American mother is a Latin American literature PhD. They taught at universities in both countries, and Miami was the intersection of these two different worlds, these two beautifully different worlds. So Miami, being the multicultural mecca that it is, was the layover for my family between Popayan and St. Louis. For me as a kid, it was a crossroads where I transitioned between futbolito and Nerf football, from vallenato, which I'm sure some of you danced last night, and baseball, empanaditas de pipián, for any of the Colombians in the room who may be familiar, and McDonald's, for many of you in the room who for sure are familiar. But I have to admit, I always looked forward to coming to the United States. oftentimes for the Big Mac. And every time I flew home, and this is no joke, I always wondered how I could take back a Big Mac, especially to Popayan, who I don't think even today has a McDonald's. But seriously, that's kind of who I was as a kid. I wanted to bring pieces of US culture to Colombia and parts of Colombian culture to the United States. And so whether I lived here or there, I wanted to share all of these new experiences with my friends and with my family. It was always a matter of time before my Colombian buddies were running around with St. Louis Cardinals baseball caps, or my St. Louis buddies, and this is no joke, were dancing around to Menudo, which, of course, at the time, I think their hit was Vamos a la Playa or Quiero Rock. I had my own band at the time called Turbo. The dance was pretty good. But it's true, I was the epitome of that first kid on the block to experience and exchange all these new incredible and international and multicultural treasures. I was drawn instinctively to bring different cultures together from as early as I can remember. I was moved to connect them in a way that each could relate to and aspire to. In many ways, it was a best of both worlds, like many of you in this room today, I'm sure. I guess you could also say that in some ways it makes sense that I'm here with you today at my current position, leading multicultural marketing and advertising for Chrysler, which is a company that's paving its own way in its own crossroads of culture and technology. So nowadays, I'm the new kid on the block again. This time in the automotive industry. I joined Chrysler, like I said, about 1.5 years ago. After 16 incredible years at Anheuser-Busch, I was invited to come to Detroit to meet a new corporate culture, or cultures, I should say. I couldn't wait to meet the team behind this giant industry turnaround and the incredible ad campaigns that were getting so much international buzz and attention. In my first visits to Detroit, I had the privilege of meeting our CEO, our CMO, and several of the brand presidents who, to my pleasant surprise, were an Italian, a Frenchman, a Mexican-American, and a Lebanese-American. These guys were the culturally minded leaders of Chrysler Group who were rebuilding an iconic brand and rebuilding a company after nearly, literally, losing it all just a couple of years earlier. Chrysler was now under their multicultural influence and experiencing success thanks to them. They were cutting through the clutter on TV, and they were shining a light on something else. A city, a spirit, a mindset, an attitude. They were putting Detroit on the map in a big and positive way and making its message a universal message. Let's take a look at what I mean.
I got a question for you. What does this city know about luxury? What does a town that's been to hell and back know about the finer things in life? Well, I'll tell you, more than most. You see, it's the hottest fires that make the hardest steam. Add hard work, conviction, and the know-how that runs generations deep in every last one of us. That's who we are. That's our story. Now, it's probably not the one you've been reading in papers, the one being written by folks who've never even been here and don't know what we're capable of. Because when it comes to luxury, it's as much about where it's from as who it's for. Now, we're from America, but this isn't New York City, or the Windy City, or Sin City, and we're certainly no one's Emerald City.
City. And this is what we do.
it's incredible. I remember I wasn't working for Chrysler at the time when I saw that spot, and I'm sure I had a very similar reaction to the one you guys are sharing right now. Just impressed and just wowed and almost reawakened to what this company was and who this company was, and in many ways changed my opinion, quite frankly. So again, it's amazing what Chrysler accomplished with that spot. The same team that was putting this campaign together also recognized that to continue growing, their message had to resonate well beyond Michigan, Detroit, and the Midwest, because 1/3 of the US population is multicultural, and multicultural consumers represent 24% of the auto industry. Chrysler knew it needed to strike a chord in cities like Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, New York, Miami. Not only the top car-selling markets in America, but also markets where the majority of the populations are multicultural and growing. So anyway, I was very impressed. I took the job. I moved to Detroit to join them in bridging this intersection, not because they saw a clear pathway, but because every step we took was opening a new path. And isn't that really what creative marketing and advertising is all about? Making a path as you go, finding that pattern, finding that thread, finding that alignment, and then tying all those pieces together. There's an important Spanish poet named Antonio Machado who once wrote, "Caminante no hay camino, se hace el camino al andar." In other words, there never really is a path. Every step we take creates a path. And at Chrysler, with that M&M spot I just showed you, that's a perfect example of what I mean. Think about it. It was February of 2011. The company's marketing assignment was to launch a new car. That car happened to be from a company that was struggling to come back. The company's located in a city that's also fighting for survival. Oh, and there's one guy who could tell this story firsthand. And he has an album coming out called Recovery. And guess what? He's from Detroit. So Chrysler's marketing team found that pattern. They found that pathway with M&M and with Detroit. Taking a company struggling for a comeback, a city fighting for survival, and finding the perfect voice to bridge the story. It connected the pieces, and it formed that thread. So that's what we call alignments, and alignments lead to downloads. Alignments lead to connection. Alignments ultimately lead to sales. We went from 800 cars a month to 6,000 after that spot ran. We shined with our marketing, and more importantly, we started shining as a company again. We moved people, and in turn, we moved product. And let's be clear, if product is the star, to make it magic, you must, we think, put it in perspective, turn it into a bigger story, align it with an audience, a moment, and a culture. So that's our job, to look at the footprints along the pathway, and if you see a nice alignment, grab it, own it, and obviously share it. And it's our belief that if you do so, not only does your brand become more visible, it becomes more relevant, it becomes more truthful and meaningful, and then you start clearing a path and you start connecting. So maybe after all this talk of pathways, I should share a spot we did for Jeep Grand Cherokee last year. It's one of my favorites, and the voiceover probably won't surprise you, or the narration. The combined SUV category in the United States is the second leading segment among Hispanics, and we wanted to make an emotional connection. So we turned again to Antonio Machado for poetic inspiration in his wise words to a traveler who learns that the only path to follow is the path of his own footsteps. And again, Caminante is also that beautiful poem that Latin fathers recite to their sons.
Caminante son tus huellas el camino y nada más. Caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Al andar se hace camino y al volver la vista atrás se ve la senda que nunca se ha de volver a pisar. Caminante no hay camino, sino estelas en la mar.
So again, we saw nice alignment, and we grabbed it, and we shared it, and I'm proud to say that Jeep is the #1 selling SUV in America, and a significant portion of its growth has come from multicultural consumers. To blaze a trail in the general market, the new Chrysler Group launched its new vehicle by sharing our American story with all of America.
The things that make us Americans are the things we make. This has always been a nation of builders, craftsmen, men and women for whom straight stitches and clean welds were matters of personal pride. They made the skyscrapers and the cotton gins, the Colt revolvers and the leather satchels, baseball mitts, cowboy boots, Jeep 4x4s. These things shaped us and helped make us who we are. As a people, we do well when we make good things, and not so well when we don't. The good news is, this can be put right. We are ready, we are willing, and we are able. We just have to do it. And so we did. This, our newest son, was imagined, drawn, carved, stamped, hewn, and forged here in America. It is well made, and it is designed to work. This was once a country where people made things, beautiful things. And so it is again. The new Jeep Grand Cherokee.
So again, this wasn't just a spot about Jeep. Truth is, it was a spot about the new Chrysler Group, about all of us, all of America. And because there was magic in there, it resonated too. It told the story of pride and resilience and reinforced the attributes of a legendary American brand. It was looking back and moving ahead at the same time. And it delivered the true voice of an incredible brand. Authentic, patriotic, heroic, and full of freedom and heritage. It was also different from anything the company did before. Why? Because it showed that we could sell our product through a brand, instead of trying to sell a brand through a product. And in other words, a brand is more than just a display of product. It's a statement, it's a persona, it's a promise. And then, and only then, it becomes a product. And this is why back in 2010, 2011, and even 2012, rather than just creating commercials, the Chrysler Group created stories. Stories bigger than just a product. And because they were bigger, they better connected. They better connected with the country. So to keep connecting with America, we told more stories, like this one.
It's halftime. Both teams are in their locker room discussing what they can do to win this game in the second half. It's halftime in America, too. People are out of work and they're hurting. They're all wondering what they're going to do to make a comeback. And we're all scared because this isn't a game. The people of Detroit know a little something about this. They almost lost everything. But we all pull together. Now Motor City is fighting again. I've seen a lot of tough eras, a lot of downturns in my life, times when we didn't understand each other. It seems that we've lost our heart at times. The fog of division, discord, and blame made it hard to see what lies ahead. But after those trials, we all rallied around what was right and acted as one. Because that's what we do. We find a way through tough times. If we can't find a way, then we'll make one. All that matters now is what's ahead. How do we come from behind? How do we come together? And how do we win? Detroit's showing us it can be done. And what's true about them is true about all of us. This country can't be knocked out with one punch. We get right back up again, and when we do, the world's going to hear the roar of our engine to begin.
from the new Jeep Cherokee called Restless.
Are you among the restless many? Each tick of the old clock, a reminder that stillness is what actually kills us. When the walls close in, do you climb out? When the road ends, do you go on? Restlessness starts with an itch and ends in progress. It is your ambition refusing to be bottled up, begging for a little blue sky time. Genetics have a voice they can only deny so long. They scream, go, run, act, find, dare. Where you go when you have the itch is free will. How you get there is why we made the new Cherokee.
Great. So following that direction, what could make Ram trucks bigger than the brand itself? So our Farmers Super Bowl spot created an American movement as well. It grew from a seed that Paul Harvey planted decades ago and gained traction from the ground up. It didn't have glitz, it didn't take the easy route, but it was true to the brand, and above all, it was credible. And the results were incredible. Let's play this video for farmers.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, and dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shake an axe handle, grow a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painting from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and uncut corners, somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk, somebody who'd bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
So if you told me that a slideshow made by a French guy, my boss, about American farmers would succeed in a Super Bowl, I'd say you were a little bit off the beaten path. Farmers gained traction in a really organic way, though. 20 million people went to YouTube to see it. It was grounded, it was magical, and it was awarded. Farmers is the most awarded automotive commercial ever. And of course, for us, the most important awards come in the form of sales. And Ram Truck is on a roll with 47 consecutive months of year-over-year sales growth and market share that's jumped from almost 12% to almost 19% and still climbing. Now let's talk specifically about Hispanic marketing for Ram. The top 2 truck selling states in the United States today are Texas and California. And they both have majority multicultural populations. And so do the top truck selling cities. Places like Houston, Dallas, Los Angeles, New York, and San Antonio. So, to successfully sell trucks in the United States today, you need to have a multicultural strategy. So a key piece of our strategy has been our partnership with Juanes. He's one of the most respected Latin music artists of our time. He embodies Ram's a todo con todo attitude, which means give everything you've got to everything you do. And like Ram, he's accomplished and award-winning, yet he represents hardworking, proud, and determined consumers. And through Juanes, we were able to make an emotional connection, and Ram has delivered also double-digit sales growth. Our recent Ram Juanes TV campaign first aired as a teaser during the Latin Grammys in 2013, with a spot that pays tribute to his road crew, the guys we consider the real heroes behind the scenes.